Hello everyone, today I'm going to be giving you my tier list on the Royal World and all the heroes that can be unlocked in it. I do have a lot of these heroes at 3 stars, but for this tier list, we're going to be rating them at 2 stars. For the common rarity, the first one I'm throwing out there is going to be Mavis. Even though she can get a good amount of coins from the carrots, she really isn't that beneficial to your team when getting into the late game. The only real positive I see is nobody grabs her, which means you pretty much have all the carrots to yourself. The next one on the C tier, I'm going to put Trader, just another one that just feels kind of blah. Yeah, it's nice to get coins and get a gem out of it. He will do a little bit of healing, but overall, I don't really see a purpose for him. On to the B tier, the first one I'm going to be putting on here is the Goblin, and I will say, I do enjoy the Goblin. I like getting a whole bunch of coins when he does pop, but going and grabbing it first thing just seems to be filling up the chest and really makes it difficult when there's a damage dealer out there. Which brings us to the next hero on the B tier, and that's going to be the Chicken. Once again, I like this one too. I think it's amusing to see, but when going up against another opponent, this one just doesn't seem to hold up even with the little chickens it spawns. The next one though might hurt a couple people's feelings here, and that's going to be El Primo. This was one that I considered one of the best heroes during the beta, but now it seems like it's just a slow clear speed at the beginning. Yes, I do like the stun behind him, but when it comes down to it, I'm trying to grab some damage dealers first to really get things rolling, and by the time that I need to throw a tank into my army, there's usually a better substitution to pop in. And the last common one on the B tier is going to be the Barbarian. This is an all-arounder, and I think that sums it up the best. It's just an all-arounder. It's good, it's okay. It's not really doing anything like, oh man, I gotta get the Barbarians because they're gonna wreck. It's just kind of par, I would say. When it comes to the A tier, I'm going to be popping Greg in here, and this is one of those heroes that I did say has a slow clear speed, but once you get this thing fused, you could drop those trees so fast and you really fill up on some currency. Now to throw the commons onto the S tier, the first one I'm putting in there is Bo, and this one is great for killing the enemies. Not so much on the actual players you go up against himself, but if there's an actual monster on the board, he will absolutely wreck, and he does a pretty decent clear if you get a bunch of these things towards the end. I absolutely drop dragons with these things. The next one I'd put on the S tier, and there's no doubt about it, Colt is an absolute beast inside this game, which is kind of going and wrecking anybody in its path. I mean, if I can get a Colt for my first one, that's probably my best case scenario. And the last comment to go on the S tier is going to be Shelly. With the spread and the knockback, not to mention the stun inside it, this is a pretty decent hero to have, and if you don't see Colt, this is the one that I end up grabbing. Moving on to the rares, the first hero I'm going to be putting in this C tier is going to be Pam, and I think I liked her a lot more in Brawl Stars. This is going to be throwing a heal station now, and if you stay in that heal station, you're going to be healing yourself. But given the style of this game and moving around as much as you can, I don't really find her skill set to be as useful as I'd like it to be. The next one I'm throwing in the C class is going to be B, and this is one that I'm just not really a fan of. I'm always trying to hunt down for these Bs, and it just seems like the range of that spinning is way too far. I'd love to see it tucked in just a little bit more, because it seems like everybody gets right up on it, and for me, it doesn't seem like it's doing a lot, even though the attack is pretty decent. On to the B tier, the first hero I'm going to be putting in there for the rares is going to be the Hog Rider, and which is kind of disappointing because I'm a huge fan of Hog Rider. I love the whole animation thing, but it just seems like the turbo and everything else, it's just kind of like the Barbarian was. Just felt like an all-arounder, not really shining, and it's just kind of there. The other one I'm going to be putting in the B tier is going to be Dynamite, and as much as I do like the splash damage and the whole AoE effect on it, it just doesn't seem to hold up, especially when doing something like Doppelganger. You have a whole bunch of them. It's just not really cutting it for me. On to the A tier, the first one I'm putting on here is the Medic. I absolutely am a huge fan of the Medic inside the game, and the fact that you're going to be healing when you're idle, when we're doing most of our attacking, I think is the most important thing. This is a healer I see people grabbing the most, and the fact that it is a rare, there's good chances that it will pop up inside a chest. The next rare hero in the A tier, I'm going to be putting Nita, and this is one I like in the fact of having that bear out there with it. It is pretty decent for clearing if you do grab it in the beginning. Not that I would typically grab a defender first thing, but it does hold up on its own. And the other rare hero I'm going to be putting inside the A tier is going to be the Wizard. If it wasn't for getting 2 spells, I'd probably put him down in the B tier, but the fact that holding 2 spells is so OP inside this game, grabbing at least 1 Wizard makes it suitable for the B tier. Onto the epics, there's nothing to throw in the C tier, but for the B tier, I'm going to throw the Battle Healer. And even though it does increase the HP and heals when opening the chest, by this point, I've already grabbed the Medic, and the Medic is doing more than enough for healing. I have grabbed her quite a bit during the game, and it never really feels like it's a game changer for me, so I'm trying to stay away from it. It's not one that I generally enjoy, so if there's a healer out there, it's going to be the Medic for me. The other one I'm going to be putting on the B tier is going to be the Royal King. And I was actually really excited when I got this. The knights, when they pop out, they all just kind of go and spread, and they never really seem to serve a purpose. When I do grab a new chest, obviously they all come right back up and pop again, but this is one of those ones where it was like, oh man, this is going to be great, and then it's like, okay, I'm not really using it as much as I should. But given that it is an epic, I seem to grab it when I see it, but still, it's nothing that wows me compared to the other ones we're going to talk about. Onto the A tier, and this is where I'm putting Max. Max, pretty decent. I mean, it hits pretty hard, and obviously being able to escape with some speed is always a nice little addition. It saved me a bunch of times, and for that fact alone, that's why we're putting it in the A tier. Onto the S tier, the first one I'm putting in here is the Barbarian King, and for being a defender, I find this one to be the best. It's the one I like the most, have had the best success with. You compare the Barbarian King to the Royal King, and it just seems like the Barbarian King outshines him in every way. Once again though, my personal opinion, but that's the one I'm going for when I see it. Next is going to be the Witch, and having them skeletons is a great addition. Now I know I said I wasn't going to be doing anything with 3 stars on this, but I love the fact of getting a skeleton spell whenever I grab one of these, but still, that's negating this. Even without that skeleton spell, the Witch still sits on the S tier. The next one though is going to be the Archer Queen, and I've talked about this before. The fact that you can run, fill up your meter, and then get a stun out of it is a great escape way. Plus, she does some decent damage too. So this is probably one of the ones I always struggle between the Witch and the Archer Queen, but the Archer Queen seems to be the one I like a little bit better. The last one we have is going to be Mortis, and this is one I just got and finally got up to 2 stars, but I love the fact of going and defeating an enemy and then having it added to your army. Not to mention, once those end up dying too, they will turn into the bats, I believe. At least I see bats on my screen, but it seems like this is a great way to generate a powerful, strong army just from going and having a single hero. So there you have it, everyone. That is my tier list inside Squad Busters. If there's anything you'd change around, put it in the comments and let us know why you would change it around. I didn't go over the mega units inside here. I'd rank them as an SS, but if you find yourself burning these things up all the time and want to know how to save them so you're not using them when you have the option to, take a look at this video right here. Thanks for watching, and remember, I pick my butt.